Hey guys, this is Ben from the Family Fulfillment Project, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your trailer to full hookups. So first of all, getting your trailer into your site. Right now I am in a pull-through site and we just pulled right in, and I had to actually back up a couple different times to get it close enough to your hookups, but you always want to make sure before you do anything that you are close enough to your hookups. So before you unhook the trailer or do anything, make sure that all of your different hookups can reach. Here you can see I have, I'm plenty close enough. This is where my electrical's coming out, and it's going to connect to the box right here. My water hookups are a ways up here in the front over here, but I still have plenty of room to make it all the way back to the hose hookup here, and my black tank hookup is right below my electrical, so that's all going to work out just fine. But I would recommend making sure that you have extra hoses and extra line available. I'm set up to make it about 50 feet from my trailer to my hookups without having any issues. So it's always good to make sure you have extra hookups available in case you have a weird site, but always make sure that you are close enough to your hookups before you unhook. Another thing to check before you do anything is to make sure if you have slides, make sure that you have enough room for the slides to come out. So like in the site that I'm in right now, I've got a couple of trees that are next to me, but we made sure that there's ample room for the slides to come out without running into anything. So I have these plastic tire chocks, and this one is destroyed because the very first time I ever unhooked my trailer, I forgot to take my tire chocks out and drove away and ran over this guy and broke it. So I'll talk about that in our takedown video, but just make sure that you don't forget that. All right, so once the tire chocks are in, I actually will hook up the electrical first thing after that, because then we're not draining our battery at all when if we want to turn the AC on, or if we want to put the slides out or anything like that. So, okay, so for hooking up electrical, I have this little surge guard thing. A lot of people recommend getting a real surge protector in their trailer. I don't have one, and I didn't decide to spend the money on it. This guy at least tells you if there's any issues. Before I hook up my power to it, I'll plug this into the box and turn the box on, and it'll tell me if there's an issue with the grounds, not being set up right, or if there's reverse polarity or some issue like that. Also, before you hook up your electrical, always make sure that the breaker is off so that you're not just hooking up power straight to your trailer. I always hook up the cords first, then turn the power on. So as you can see on here, everything is green, so we are good to go. So I'm going to turn this back off, and then I'm going to hook up power for my trailer. Okay, so I've got my line plugged in now. Now it's time to turn the power on. And you can't hear that, but my AC just clicked on, so I know things are working. I'm gonna move on to getting the trailer unhooked from the car. Now we are fully unhooked from the car, so I'm gonna pull the car forward, and then we can work on leveling this guy out. So I just set my level right here on the front, and it actually looks like it's almost perfect as it is. So I always get it pretty much perfect here, and then I'll bring the level into the trailer to double check there. Miller has made his mark in here. Hey Miller! He's hanging out in here, and he's got some crackers all over the floor. But anyways, this is usually what I do to check if it's level or not, and it looks pretty good. I'm gonna go down just a couple of cranks, and then I'll be basically perfect. What do you think, buddy? What do you think? Are we level? Can you walk okay? Yeah. Oh yeah, good job. Good job. Hi, Bubby. Hi. Once again, I'm not super picky. As long as it's pretty close to being level, we're just gonna be here for a few days. I'm not gonna take an hour and get this thing perfect every time. Okay, So now the trailer is level. The next step is going to be to stabilize. One of the most handy tools that you can have for putting your stabilizers down, as long as there's this kind of stabilizer, is having a drill gun. I'd also definitely recommend having something to put underneath your stabilizers, because every campsite is different. There's a lot of campsites that your stabilizers are going to go into the mud, into the soft dirt. I got lucky, and the previous owner had a bunch of these really heavy duty kind of plastic grates. So I have 4 of these, one to put under each of my stabilizers, and they work really, really great. So I just throw them underneath there. Another handy tool to have are these leveling blocks. So these are kind of multi-purpose. You can use these for actually leveling out your trailer, to basically driving on top of them to level them out. Usually throw half of these under both front stabilizers or both back stabilizers, whichever ones are farther off the ground. So there's my setup. Basically have the grate on the ground and these leveling blocks on top of them. And then I'm gonna grab my drill, put it on the end of my level here. And then make sure that you obviously get these things under here evenly. I just let the drill go until it doesn't anymore, and then I'll give it a few more turns. You know, these things aren't meant to actually completely take all the weight of your trailer, so make sure that you don't over crank these things. But you know, I usually give it 2 or 3 or 4 cranks once the drill can't do it anymore. All right, so on to the next one. Now it is time to take the slides out. So I'm already hooked up to electrical. I've already checked to make sure that the slides are gonna fit. And for us to be safe, I always have Becca go inside and operate the slides from in there so she can watch and see what's going on. And I stand out here to watch the slides and make sure that nothing happens, because slides can get off balance and they can break and they can run into things, and we just don't like to take that chance. So I always stand out here and watch the slides come out while she does it on the inside. Okay, so Becca's inside, and the easiest way for us to know if I'm ready to go and stop is for me to knock. So I just go 2 knocks, and then she's gonna start doing the back slide. And she can hear when it stops. Okay, so the back one's out, and now 2 more knocks for the front slide. All right, so slides are out, so Becca can start setting up inside, and I'm gonna keep going on the outside. So now we are stabilized, we are unhooked, and it's time to set up the water and sewer. I definitely recommend getting a few dedicated plastic totes if you have a storage area that you can put them in. I have them labeled. I basically have one for all my black water stuff, one for all my freshwater stuff, and one for all my electrical stuff. One other very important tool to have is a box of gloves. I usually actually put these on earlier in the setup process just to not have to get my hands super dirty. But before I do anything with the black tank stuff, I always put gloves on that I can just throw away when I'm done. Okay, so we already have our electrical hooked up. So next for me is gonna be fresh water. So here's my freshwater bin. Inside I have my extra water hose. I don't really use it that often, but it's nice to have just in case you ever want to have kind of a rinse off station or something like that. 3 very important things to have right here. On the top is a water regulator. You never really want to trust how much pressure these parks have coming through their lines, because if there's too much pressure, it could destroy your lines inside your trailer. So use a water regulator. This one's just set, I think, at about 50 psi. It's not one that you can adjust. That is hooked up to my water filter. You always want to filter your water if you're actually going to be using it for drinking. And then lastly on the end is a 90-degree elbow. And I use this to actually connect to the trailer, basically so that I'm not having to connect the water like that, because that's going to be really hard on this connection piece here because it's just plastic. Next step is to hook up our freshwater hose. I have a dedicated freshwater hose that it's an NSF rated hose, and the only thing I ever use it for is to hook up fresh water. To me, it's really important not to cross-contaminate using our freshwater hose for anything else. So I'd recommend getting one of these. Everything that I'm talking about today in this video, I'll have linked down below the video so that you can check it out. And you know, I got all of this stuff on Amazon. So get yourself a freshwater hose. So I have a 25-foot hose, I believe this is, and then I have an additional 20-foot hose or 15-foot hose, something like that, which I've actually only had to use once, but you know, it was worth it to have the hose just in that one case. So always make sure that you have extra lines, extra hose available, just in case your hookups are farther away than what your normal hose can reach to. All right, so I'm hooked up here. Now I'm gonna go hook it up to the water supply. All right, here's the hose splitter that I use. Got it on Amazon. I got all of this stuff on Amazon. And once again, check out the description in the video. I'll have all of this stuff linked so that you can go buy it too. I went pretty cheap on everything. There's a vast array of prices that you can spend to buy all this gear. You want to get good quality gear that's not going to break, but there's also a lot of frills and extra features that some of these have that I'll never use. So check them out. Also, let me know if you guys have any tips of ways to do things better than what I'm doing it here. Everybody has their own way of doing things. This one's kind of nice because it already has a splitter on it. So this is actually going to give me 3 different outlets for water, which is great because now I can hook up my black water flush hose, I can hook up my freshwater hose, and I have another valve that I can use for my extra hose if I want to rinse anything off. Okay, so if you have one of these sewer tank flusher valves, I'd recommend getting a separate hose for this and having it hooked up at all times so that every time you flush your black water tank or every time you empty it, you can flush it out, because the better that you take care of your black water tank, the less problems that you're gonna have. This is my black water box. Viewer discretion advised. So this is my black water connection hose. So I'm gonna hook it up to the trailer, and then I have a water splitter that I'm gonna hook up to the water supply. So those are all hooked up. Very important note, before you actually turn your water onto your trailer, make sure that you go inside and double check to make sure that all of the faucets are turned off. Because if you accidentally bumped one of them when the water was turned off and the faucet's sitting open, you could have a big huge mess in your hands if you don't check to make sure that they're all closed. So when you turn your water on, before you use your toilet, make sure you run your sinks to try to get any air out of the lines that you can. And the first time you use your toilet, after you hook everything up, make sure that the lid is closed when you're flushing that thing, because it's happened to us probably a dozen times that we'll forget, and the lid will still be open. We'll hit that flush valve and it'll shoot water out all over the bathroom. It's not a pretty sight. Okay, so my water's on now. After you turn the water on, it's a good idea just to check your connections again and make sure that nothing is leaking. All right, so water is hooked up, electrical is hooked up, we're all leveled out. So we're saving the best for last. Now it's time to do the black tank. Another very nice tool to have for your black tank is what we call the stinky slinky. This is basically to keep the direction of the flow of your black tank or of your sewage line going the right way. I'm gonna set up my stinky slinky before I get my hose out. So here's my sewer connection. Not all of them are gonna have lids like this one does. Some of them are just open, which is kind of gross because then you have the fumes coming out. But leave the lid on there if it has a lid until you're actually ready to connect everything so that you're not spouting off fumes all over the place, because that's gross. I have a nice straight path with my hose going right to the drain, and it's all going to continue the downward motion of the flow so that when I'm draining everything actually flows out of the hose and into the drain. So next is going to be to get our black tank hose. Pretty much every black tank hose is expandable, but once again, I always have an extra hose to connect to just in case I need to go farther. And once again, got this on Amazon. All right, like I said before, wait until you're actually ready to connect this thing before you actually open this, because this always smells nasty. Okay, so this end piece disconnects. It's just a twist and release. So I'm gonna unhook the cap, and it has 3 different sizes of threads on here so that it fits basically every single drain pipe that you could imagine. So I'm gonna screw this guy in first. Get it until it's almost tight, and then I'm gonna connect my hose to it. So I don't know if you can really see this or not, but I actually have the hose is pretty high off the ground at the connection point over here. So I'm actually gonna adjust my stinky slinky to raise the hose up a little ways so that I can have it, going in the right direction all the way down. All right, so now it's time to hook up the black water hose to our trailer, and this end piece here is another accessory that I got off of Amazon. It's kind of gross, but I like to be able to see the flow of what's going on out of my trailer and into the hose. All right, so now we're gonna hook up to our drain, take the cap off, extend that bad boy out. All right, and then you can just kind of play with your stinky slinky until you're comfortable with it. And now we are set up. So now I can pull my drains at any time, and I am set to drain. Okay, so that's it. Other than setting up your awning and whatever you want to do on the inside, that is how I set up my trailer. So hopefully that was helpful. Once again, I'm going to have links down below in the description for everything that we saw today, all the different gear that you need to set up. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button to our channel and check out our other videos as we adventure and travel around the country and around the world. How's it going there, honey?
Don't judge me.
Are you on the struggle bus?
No. I'm on the short bus.
On the short bus?
Short bus. I'm not tall enough.
Would you like some help?
Yeah. I wanted to do this by myself, but I don't want to get the ladder down. It needs to go on the backside first.
You're so cute when you're independent.
Shut up. It needs to go around the thick part.
This part?
Yeah, and then it needs to hook onto this.
Onto itself?
Yeah.
There you go.